I said no, hey, yeah.
Hi,
Good
this is
evening,
Matt.
everyone. Yep. Who's going first?
I'm going first. Hi, this is Matt
You got
Gresick
it.
with Brick and Mortar, coming with you, education from the inside out. I'm your co-host, and my other co-host is.
Matt is the host. I am just the co-host. Okay. Let's chip it away. It's so good to have you this evening. And I'm glad to be on board with you guys. Looking forward to this interview. And Matt, take it away, man.
Well, Jennifer Berkshire is an expert advocate in advocating for public education against privatization, against those interests that are not in the best interests of our kids.
Okay, Jennifer, will you marry me? I just need to know. Because this is the fight. I'm, a legislator. This is the fight.
Mhm.
Okay, so go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry.
But she's awesome in every way, and I'm gonna let her introduce herself, tell just a little bit about herself, and then we're gonna get into some questions here. We like to keep it short on Brick and Mortar, just so we have enough time for a nice 20-minute commute, 25-minute commute. But let's get rolling. Jennifer, tell us about yourself.
So I am Jennifer Berkshire, and I am coming to you from Gloucester, Massachusetts, which happens to be America's oldest seaport. Just putting that out there. And
I'll sail up very soon. I'm going to get my boat and come there soon. Okay.
Yeah, we're right now. It's like we're living in the North Pole. It's like it has been too cold to go outside for the last 2 days, but apparently next week it's going to warm up.
Excellent.
So my beat, what I write, podcast, and teach about is the intersection of education and politics. And boy, does that happen to be a handy area to have some understanding of right now.
Well, it's great to have you on board. So, we like to talk to people about, their experiences in education. And so why don't you start off by telling us what was the difficult or funny or challenging situation you had in education that is a good story to tell, or you like to tell it, but also helped to shape some of what you are as an educator?
Yeah, so I currently teach in the Boston College prison education program. So once a week, I go into a medium security prison in Massachusetts, and I teach a course on the politics of public education. The students are they're getting full bachelor's degrees from Boston College, and it has been an amazing experience. But I have to tell you, it is really challenging to convince them that the fate and future of public education is something that they should really care about. And so to me, that's been like both eye-opening and a real wake-up call.
Mhm.
That in many ways, these are the folks for whom the system didn't work at all. And their stories are all so similar. These are really bright guys who, something goes wrong, typically around middle school, and then they just find themselves
In the
more
school
and
to
more.
prison pipeline. There they are,
Right,
right?
and that's what that is our topic of discussion next week, the school to prison pipeline. And so it's been an amazing experience, but it has definitely opened my eyes. We have a line in our book, The Education Wars, that defending, like fighting for public education does not mean defending the status quo. And I feel like spending all that time inside the prison has really helped me to understand what that means.
Well,
That's awesome.
you should know that Matt will tell you that I taught in the public schools for 35 years, and now I'm trying to pretend like I can affect policy. And part of that policy is to say that every dollar we have for education needs to go to public education. We need to stop diverting it to places where people who are in need. But the other thing that I've become interested in is going back to teaching, and I'm not going to go back to what I did before. And so justice impacted students have become a great interest of mine, both in terms of legislation, but also in terms of what I might do next. Your stories will be incredibly interesting to me.
Yeah, great. I encourage anyone to, if you have the opportunity to teach inside a prison, it's really just amazing.
One of the stories I heard, I wonder if this is true. Somebody told me that I'm a math teacher, and they said, I was teaching some math to some students, but people who were incarcerated. And they said, can you give us more work to do? He said, what? They said, we're bored, man. We're smart and we need stuff to do. We don't want to play video games and, watch reruns on TV all night. Is that true? Is that really accurate?
Well, so one thing that's really interesting is how removed so many of the current debates about technology and education are from these classrooms,
Wow,
right?
interesting.
That they're not, you don't have to worry about, they're not on their phones. They're not, you don't have to tell the students like you do in a traditional classroom, like I can see that you're looking at Facebook even though I'm sitting right next to you.
Yeah.
So the no, my students would not say that they need more work because they're taking full class loads.
Okay, so you're
But
giving them enough. Yeah.
it is definitely the case that like they really recognize that having nothing but time, like if you ask them, why are you in this program? And they'll say, because I was bored out of my mind.
Right. They're
If I
hungry for
had
knowledge, aren't they? They're a
if
unique group of students. I'm looking forward to maybe teaching them one day.
I recommend it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a cool thing you're doing because we're all about, you know, giving people a second chance and helping them to become more. And this is the very thing that's the most important. So, good on you for doing it. It's not dangerous, I'm sure you would say, and probably pretty rewarding on some level.
All right, we're
And
gonna
what's
get to the.
amazing is,
I'm sorry.
oh, here, I'm just going to tell you one more thing about it.
No,
So,
go ahead.
like, getting into the prison feels like going through like the worst TSA experience you've ever had. But
Okay.
then, like, once you're in that classroom, you're just in a classroom, and that's an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
great. Thank you.
getting to our topic of the day, you're an expert on the privatization, dismantling of public education. Can you please break down the most present threats today, and how will it affect public schooling in our nation?
Yeah, so we've really never lived through a moment like this
Mm.
where the future of public education absolutely hangs in the balance. And it does not matter where you live, because if you're in a red state, you're dealing with it at the state level. Right now, like there are these just incredible drives to bring vouchers to a state like Texas. And the amount of money and political influence lined up behind that cause is just jaw-dropping. And then if you're in a state that has resisted having tax dollars go to private and mostly private religious schools, well, they're coming for you too, because there is going to be a federal voucher bill tucked into that gigantic tax cut measure for billionaires that they're working on. And so it is coming down the pike.
Okay, you're scaring me now because I feel like I'm here in the legislature and we do what we can, but you're telling me, watch out, buddy.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying, watch out, buddy.
Okay. Well, thank you for the warning sign there. I mean, we do what we can, and I serve in a group called the Southern Regions Education Board, which is made up of states that were slave states essentially, and Maryland's among them. But when I go to these meetings, I am among the people who are the more progressive about education, but they brag about, yeah, we got school choice passed last year. We're so excited. And I'm not. And so, yes, I do worry. And thank you for the cautionary tale there.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it's so interesting that you mentioned that about, because that's really where we see the voucher programs coming back. It is in the former Confederate states, and
Yes.
I just wrote a piece about what's really driving the effort to dismantle the Department of Education. And what almost no one knows is that we had a Department of Education back in 1867, and it lasted 1 year. And the reason for that was that the former Confederate states they did not want the federal government mucking around in their business and tracking whether former slaves were learning to read. And
Yeah.
so that department was demoted and the head of it was sent packing. And it is like we are right back there today.
We are right back there today. I don't want to be right back there. So, yeah, thank you. That's fascinating. That was true then. And now it's true now.
Yeah. All right, there's the call.
Oh, wait, we have a call coming in?
We have a call coming.
I see the red light flashing on the board, Matt. We must have a call. People, it's good to know people are listening, isn't it? Let's pick it up.
All right. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hi. What's your name?
My name is Ed Gresick.
Hi, Ed. I happen my dad's name is Ed. What a
It's
coincidence.
always a coincidence. It seems like the callers have names similar to people that we know. It's an amazing thing, isn't it, Matt? It's a startling improbability.
Yes, yes. Um, did we lose Jennifer?
No, I'm right here.
Okay, all right, here she is. Sorry, I didn't see you on my screen there. It was a problem with Zoom. Do you have a question for us, caller?
Yes, yes. What what can parents and educators do to make our voices heard about this dilemma the country has found it in? Because without public education, the country's lost.
So, Jennifer, I'm going to say before we start that I love our callers. They're the most informed callers in the world, and they have the best questions. I don't know how they think of them. So that's a great question, caller. Thank you very much.
Jennifer, what
Ready
do
for
you
an
think?
answer?
Yes.
Yes,
Well,
please.
so first of all, I have to say that way back in the day, I had a radio show on a community radio station in Champaign, Illinois. And my dad would always be one of the callers, but we were too far out of range for him to actually hear the show, and this was before the internet. And so he would regularly call in, which was great, but his questions were always wildly off topic. So I do appreciate that, not just that someone with your last name called in, but he called in with a question that's so relevant to
It's
what
it,
we're talking about.
it's just amazing, isn't it? I mean, it's just
It
amazing.
is really amazing. So I would just say that I definitely notice that more and more people are articulating that concern way more than just a few years ago, that this recognition that public education is under attack and that like just how much we stand to lose if it goes away, this is steadily creeping into the mainstream. And so I would just encourage people who are worried about that to just pass it on, right, and really make it clear to people what just how high the stakes are. And the other thing I think is really key is that the concern is bipartisan in nature at a time when we don't agree on a lot. That one of the reasons why they're having to push so hard and bring in such enormously wealthy people for these voucher fights is that there are a lot of Republicans, including conservative Republicans, who really fear for what's going to happen to their communities if schools are privatized.
It's good to know that it
Wonderful.
would cross over. And you don't think of it that way. So it's an excellent thought. But so you have to tap into not only your progressive friends, but your middle of the road friends too, is what you're saying. Is that
Absolute, ab,
okay?
that's absolutely the case. And, because if this just gets reduced to being a cause that progressive Democrats care about, we're lost.
Right, because we get written off. That's what happens. You're correct. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much,
Wow.
caller. What a great question.
Right. You feel like he has good heritage, don't you, that caller?
And to say that Matt's mom and dad are very proud of him.
So you've met them. So you've met them, sir. Is that correct? You've met Matt's parents somewhere along the way. It's great to hear.
My fear is that my grandchildren are going to have to do duck and cover like I did.
We're all fearing that. We're all fearing that in a very tangible and real way, I think, right now. So, I don't think it's hyperbole for us to be concerned about that.
Thank you so much, caller.
Okay, thank
Take
you.
care.
Good night.
Bye. All right.
So where are we, Matt?
You are at the fun question, my friend.
Oh, great. I get to ask you. You let me ask it tonight?
Of course.
Matt is so generous. So a little enjoyable question. We've had a little doom and gloom here, which is appropriate because there is some doom and there is some gloom out there. But let's have a little fun. I want you to think of a school that you went to or that you worked at over the years that had a mascot that you just shook your head at. Like, my God, what were they thinking with this mascot? And tell us what that mascot is and tell us what you might have replaced it with if you had been in charge of that school.
Well, I have two for you. So I attended
great.
school in
It's a double dip. That's great news.
I grew up in Springfield, Illinois. And so I attended Springfield High School, home of the Springfield Senators.
Let's just say this, a public school, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
Winner.
and so And so we were always, like compared to the other kids' mascots, the animals, like being a senator seemed kind of lame. And then, they insisted on using the kind of like the Greek shorthand for senator. So we were the Solons, and none of us understood that at all.
I don't know. I would have not understood that either. I have to tell you honestly.
And then once I was partially grown up, I went to grad school at Miami University in Ohio. And they were the Redskins. And it was at a time when that campaign to change the mascot was just taking off. And
we live adjacent to Washington, D.C., so we understand that all too well.
You understand it well. And they did ultimately change it many years later, but I led an ill-fated campaign to try to convince them to change it to the potato skins.
Nice! Nice! That is a good one. That is a very, very good one. The potato.
Oh, man.
I think a lot of potatoes out there might be offended by that, I have to say.
Oh, man. That is a winning mascot right there.
There are good
I thought so too.
Yes.
I got nowhere.
Well, we would have been behind you. I don't know that we could have convinced everybody, but you'd have had 2 more advocates. I would tell you that right now. There's no question about it. That's a great answer.
University of Miami, Ohio, potato skins.
The potato skins.
Let's make that happen.
Yes. All right. So you have been delightful.
Yes.
Matt, you want to take it out?
Yeah. It's been a wonderful. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for all you do. If you haven't read her book yet, for people listening, please.
Let's say the title of the book out loud, please, so people can look it up online.
War on Public Education.
It's called the
Education Wars. My bad. Education Wars. My bad.
Education. I got a copy right here. It's the Education Wars, a Citizen's Guide and Defense Manual.
Yes. Everybody should read it. I have it by my bedside. I'm sorry, I got the title wrong.
Slow down and get it on there. Education Wars, a Citizen's Guide and Defense Manual. Look it up on your computer. Order it because it's going to tell you the danger we're in and also the value of public education, I'm guessing, because I'll be reading it soon.
That's it.
And Jennifer,
it practically reads itself.
What's the name of your podcast as well, so we can link that as well?
It's called Have You Heard? And there'll be a fresh episode dropping tomorrow.
Well, then I have another podcast to listen to besides our own. So thank you.
Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
We appreciate you being on board with us and, carry on.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Good night, you guys.